Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Ladies and gentlemen, do you like to think for yourself? Do you like traditional values? Do you like to express your opinions and beliefs without fear of persecution? If so, you might be a racist.
That's racist!
Yeah, probably. And the reason I know that is because I'm virtuous. And I know that because my college professors tell me that that's probably true. And every time I get butthurt about stuff, I hashtag it. That's what I do. And every month or so, I change my profile picture on my social media accounts to match the color of the human rights organization that I claim to be in solidarity with. Yeah, and that makes me righteous, self-righteous even. And anyone who disagrees is a racist. We have 2 Q posts, and they're not racist. 3436 is where we last left you, 51 minutes after the hour of 10. Q takes us back to September, post 2173, September 2018. They want you divided by race, divided by religion, divided by culture, divided by class, divided by political affiliation, divided by 0. No, you can't do that. Divided, you are weak. Together, you are strong. We, the people, where we go one, we go all. And Q says, define projection. We get this little Twitter link right here to Ilhan Omariya-Bromar. And there she is, chilling with the Nihad Awad squad. This president would love nothing more than to divide our country based on race, religion, gender, orientation, ability, or immigration status. This is the only way he thinks he can prevent the solidarity of working people. And I would also like to add in, if you want to see solidarity, go to a football game in your country and you will see a solid group of nothing but bros. That's right, because you're not allowed to go there because you're a woman. We're not falling for it, says Ilhan Omariya-Bromar. And she's saying some other stuff too, but don't worry, I won't make you listen to it. I'll just pretend to say it. She's like, look, I'm from a country where I'm not allowed to speak up, so I came here. And now I'm speaking as loud as I can to encourage you to be more like my country, where I can't speak up. Yep. Well, there you go, boys and girls. Classic projection right there. I don't think I need to define it for you. You've been living it for the last 2 years. Let's move on to 3437, 3 minutes after the hour of 11. Get some throwback pics here. And there's Donald Trump hanging back in the day in 1997 with the Reverends Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. And this was when Al Sharpton had a little bit more weight on him, but he also had the sweet-looking wave. Yep, it wasn't quite a mullet. It was kind of a respectable looking wave. And that's what this guy's saying right here. He's like, I'm not really sure what to think about that knucklehead, but that's a lot of time and effort into that hair. Just saying. Here we go. Here we got Joseph Simmons and his brother Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons, of course, a successful hip-hop media mogul, and his brother Reverend Run, part of the classic rap group Run DMC, who I was bumping back in the day. Looks like they're hanging out with this strapping couple. Not really sure who they are, but they're probably influential. No, I'm just kidding. It's Trump and Melania, and it looks like they were happy to hang with them back in the day. Are you not so happy to hang with them now? What's up, Reverend Run? And Reverend Run's like, it's tricky. There is hip-hop rapper Snoop Dogg, and there's POTUS. It looks like this was pre-POTUS days. Donald Trump, the Trump Tower. Maybe he was staying at Trump Tower, and he was like, extra towels and conditioners, what they gave me. And Trump's like, West Wing! I don't know. Let's move on. It's an old picture right here. Jesse Jackson and Donald Trump. And they're trying to say, hey, it doesn't matter if you're black or white or red or blue or brown or Asian or whatever color you are. We all need opposable thumbs. Yeah, it's true. They're functional. quite helpful. What happens when the controlled are told to create a new false racist narrative disinformation campaign? Do the sheep follow? Think for yourself. See truth. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been on social media over the last 72 hours, you know that it's been an absolute firestorm of racist rhetoric going on. And of course, that's all they've got because they know the bomb is about to drop and this Epstein thing's about to drop wide open. So the only thing to do is to just say that Trump's a racist because that's their A game, because they don't have a B game. The reason they don't have a B game is because they never thought that they would actually have to develop an A game, because they just recruited everybody to say that everyone else is racist. I'm not really sure if that makes sense or not, but those are your Q posts. Okay, I wanted to cruise through those Q posts real quick because I wanted to get to this story. Some interesting stuff that I found in my searches yesterday. And some of this came about due to an email thanks to an Anon. And the Anon was actually asking about something sort of different, but it led me into something new just out of curiosity, and I wanted to share it with you. So today, you might as well put on your Birkenstocks and your fanny pack because we're going touring through New York City. That's right, you and me holding hands and strolling through the thoroughfare. You have to buy lunch, though. No, I'm serious. You have to buy lunch. So I want to start you off here with Town and Country. Now, this is an article from July 10th, 2019. This is in regards to 9 East 71st Street, which was the residence of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, my email was talking about not only the residence, but what was across the street from it, which we'll get to in a minute here. But they were implying that they saw some Saudi-looking architecture across the street. And the reason why that was interesting to this Anon was because Jeffrey Epstein was just found to have a Saudi passport in one of his safes. How about that? That's an interesting thing to possess when you tend to be linked with Mossad, right? Okay, so let's check out this Town and Country article. This is called The Secret History of Jeffrey Epstein's New York Townhouse, and there it is right there, $77 million property. The French neoclassical townhouse at 9 East 71st Street is on one of the most fashionable blocks on the Upper East Side. Yeah, all the fashion designers are in this district. Bookended to the west by the Frick Collection on Fifth Avenue and the 1810 St. James Church just across Madison Avenue in the east is not usually the kind of place that FBI agents use a crowbar to access. Okay, so we know there's probably some creepy stuff involved with this. They raided the home. You can see right there the crowbar ticking to the door. Nice monkey paw on the handle right there. And what we also know about this is that it used to belong to Leslie Wexner, who's also in the news trying to distance himself from Epstein. Well, he sold this to him, and he was one of his mentors. And of course, Leslie Wexner is chairman of L Brands. We talked about them. The Limited, and of course, the big one, Victoria's Secret. Lots of clothes companies. Abercrombie and Fitch owns a ton of different kinds of brands like that. And so this Wexner guy had it way back in the day, and this has got quite a history to this property. Now, let me just cruise you down here. Number 9 had many incarnations along its path to infamy. 50 feet wide and 7 stories tall, the house was designed by Horace Trumbauer, a fashionable residential architect for Herbert N. Strauss, an heir to the Macy's department store fortune, whose father had perished on the Titanic 18 years earlier. Trumbauer was highly sought after by the stylish rich. It was onto a Trumbauer bathroom floor in Newport, Rhode Island, that Sonny Von Bulow collapsed in 1980, setting off the attempted murder trial of her recently deceased husband. But that's not what we're talking about either. I want to take you down here. In 1962, it became the Birch Wathen School. And I would like to add on that it is now the Birch Wathen Lenox School. It merged with the Lenox School, and the Lenox School was an all-girls school. And I want you to remember that name, Lenox, Lenox. It is now the Birch Wathen Lenox School. So they purchased the school, which moved out in 1989 when Wexner purchased the property for $13.2 million, then a record for townhouse sales. And also I want to point out down here, it turned out to be quite the ghoulish block. At the time, Bill Cosby lived across the street at number 18. Ugh. So I think you see where we're going with this, but there's more. That year, according to American Splendor, and they're talking about back in the day here, by Michael C. Catherine, Strauss's sons made a gift of it to the Roman Catholic Archbishopric of New York, which used it as a 60-bed annex for St. Clare's Hospital for convalescing soldiers returning from the war. Okay, so it was a big gift to the Catholic Church, which kind of reminds me of the plot of Godfather 3 that Q was just posted about. Just saying. Anyway, it goes on to talk about his crazy taste in art and whatnot, which shouldn't surprise you once we see the neighborhood around. Epstein's taste, however, was somewhat different. Guests described chairs upholstered in leopard print, a twice life-size sculpture of a naked African warrior, and a framed picture of a woman holding an opium pipe and caressing a lion's skin. You know, the typical kind of things that just relax you when you're at home. In addition to photographs of pals like Woody Allen, Bill Clinton, and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia. Imagine that. The Times reported a life-size female doll hanging from a chandelier. Yes, do not let your kids go to Jeff's house. All right, so look, there's a ton of stuff that we can do just on this house alone, but I really just want to give you an overview of the neighborhood. And here we are at 9 East 71st Street. Charming little $77 million abode, right? And we have to go kind of quick here because the sign says no parking, no standing, and no stopping. I'm not trying to get popped around here, all right? But I just want to show you that creepy little face above the doorway. That's always welcoming. They put those scary faces to scare away the bad guys, because that's logical, right? Anyway, we could look into a bunch of the symbolism here, but I don't want to spend a ton of time on Jeffrey Epstein's place. I want to turn you on to the place that is directly across from it, like the email had said. And this is the Frick Collection, otherwise known as the Frick Center. And we are going to talk about this place in just a minute, but I just wanted to show you. And I think they might have been talking about this right here that kind of looked a little bit like the temple. I can kind of see what you mean in regards to the architecture. But before we get to this frickin' place, just want to point out, this place over here seemed to be not registered to anybody. And of course, it's Halloween decorations at the time of this picture. Otherwise, I would say that's pretty darn creepy. And then this is 18 over here, where I guess where Bill Cosby would have lived. But I want to take you over here to 16 East 71st Street. And it belongs to the artist named Deborah Bell. Deborah Bell Photographs. And let's take a look at some of their artists in their little gallery here. I'll bet it's going to be uplifting. These are some photographs from an artist named Maria Resnick, and it's probably going to be a little hard to read below these captions. I'll read them to you. She played with her slinky toys and wore banana curls, and played with her banana curls and with her slinky toys. That's really what it says. She would rendezvous in her bed with the Sandman every night, who's a full-grown adult wearing a mask. At late hours, she would quietly build a tent with her sheets and read stories with a flashlight. All right. She had a poor sense of direction, and would awkwardly miss her mark while playing pin the tail on the donkey that looks super satanic. But notice where one of them went, which is inappropriate. She was mortally afraid of clowns. I would be too if I saw that coming at me right there. Good God, doll. Inspired by a visit to the United Nations, she painted her favorite doll black. That's racist! No, that's what I was thinking. That's racist. She was forced to spend long hours watching walls under the, I'm not really sure what that says, under the red dress her wrongdoings, in order to redress her wrongdoings. That's what it says. Okay, this is straight up creepy. In class one day, she was bitten by a mosquito and became unruly. Her teacher made her stay after school. And she writes, there are no mosquitoes at that time of the year. And of course the pencil says Board of Education, City of New York. Okay, nice. That's Marsha Resnick. Here's another artist, Deborah Turbeville, who created this masterpiece, Boy at Wall with Vent. And this classic right here, Dummy Factory, which is supremely disturbing. And here's faces of people smoking and veiled lady coming down the stairs. And this one's called My Therapist Charges a Lot Hourly. And here's Boy going upstairs, girl at glass. Yeah, these are uplifting. Girl running away from creepy people inside the building. Yeah, there you go. There's Deborah Turbeville. Now we're back on the googly map, only this time we're soaring high above Manhattan like a couple of glorious eagles or something. Anyway, just to give you some perspective, where I'm circling my mouse here, this is Epstein's residence right here. And across the street is this big lot we were just talking about, the Frick collection. And they've got part of this garden area as part of their compound here. And the place that I just showed you is Deborah Bell Photographs. So we're kind of above and we flip this around now. Now on the back side of this, I want to show you this here. This building belongs to the Vilsack Foundation. Well, what is that, Patrick? The Vilsack Foundation raises awareness of immigrant contributions in America and fosters appreciation of the arts and sciences. The foundation was established in 2000 by Jan and Marka Vilsack, immigrants from the former Czechoslovakia. Our mission was inspired by the couple's respective careers in biomedical science and art history. That's a coincidence. You know why? Because Jeffrey Epstein happens to be into both, as well as their personal experiences and appreciation for the opportunities offered to them as newcomers to the United States. All right, well, that's a pretty expensive piece of real estate for the Vilsack Foundation. I bet you guys are getting some coins, yeah? I'll bet you are. Let's take a look at the grants that we're getting for the Vilsack Foundation. And here it is right here. There's quite a few grants. Looks like they're getting quite a bit of coin. I guess that's how they stay in that expensive piece of real estate here. We're not going to cover all of them, but I just want to point out a few that I noticed. And one of them was a recurring one from the New York Youth Symphony. 20,000, huh? That's quite a bit of coin. That'll keep you in business. Look at this. Kids in Need of Defense from 2018. Now, KIND is a project that provides legal assistance for kids who have crossed the border and are separated from their parents, long before they get to the border. Essentially, assistance for kids who have crossed illegally. And this was started by Bill Gates and Angelina Jolie. There's a couple of other interesting things I'd like to point out about KIND. Tina Chen, her legal team is involved. And Tina Chen was the former Obama White House Chief of Staff. Former Michelle Obama Chief of Staff. And she's, of course, a lawyer. And she was the one who got caught texting Kim Fox in regards to Jussie Smollett's case. Yes, the very same Tina Chen. And I want to point out, too, that another legal team that is involved in KIND is Tony Podesta's Venable Agency. Yeah, just saying. LGBT Asylum Project. There's another one from the Youth Symphony. So I think you see what's going on here. The Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights. Yeah, and they're all giving a lot of coin to this Vilsack Foundation. Now we're soaring above the skies. Once again, here is the Frick collection here. Epstein's place right across the street. Vilsack Foundation over on this corner. And across the street from J.P. Morgan and Jacob Schiff. And across the street from them is St. James Cathedral. Epstein's Island was called Little St. James. I wonder what Big St. James looks like. But I want to point out a few things, and I kind of got to zoom out to do it. It's tough to really get all this on the map. There's so much to look at. But if you've not been to New York City, so much of Central Park, which is all this green area right here, is lined up with these different museums. You've got the Smithsonian, which is just kind of out of the screen. The Guggenheim right here. The Metropolitan right here. You have the Met Breuer right here. And you have the Frick collection, which is also another art collection right here. There's a ton of them all along this street. Now, if you keep going down, you can see in the bottom right there, Trump Towers down there, Rockefeller Center, and then you get to St. Patrick's Cathedral. Rockefeller University is also nearby here. So lots of interesting connections. But now I want to take you back down towards where the Frick collection and Epstein's place is, because it borders Central Park. Once again, here's Epstein's place. Here's the Frick collection, Morgan Schiff, and the Vilsack Foundation. And over here, you can see that in Central Park, they've got a famous little place here known as Alice in Wonderland. And here's the official website about it right here. There is the statue. There's a second one actually of the griffin and the rabbit down the way, but this one is of Alice and the Mad Hatter and whatnot. Talks about how it was built in 1959 philanthropist George Delacorte. And here's a little audio story about it from Whoopi Goldberg. But this got me thinking about Alice going down the rabbit hole. And that got me thinking about tunnels. And of course, there are tunnels underneath Central Park. As a matter of fact, it connects to the Q train. This is Travel and Leisure right here. And it says archival maps of a New York subway system have included this ghost tunnel twice, once in the summer of 1995 and a second time during the winter of 1998. In both instances, the tunnel was used to temporarily reroute the Q train during construction. When normal service resumed, the tunnel vanished off the map. Okay, well, somebody was talking about the Q train not long ago, and that was the New York Times' Maggie Haberman. Yeah, she was talking about Q people, but she referenced the Q train. And I want to point out that down the street from there, like I said, was St. Patrick's Cathedral, and they also have some tunnels. It's the catacombs below the basilica there, and you can take a tour here with Tommy's of New York. Yeah, beneath the Basilica of St. Patrick's Old Cathedral are the only catacombs in Manhattan, and one of only a handful that exist in the entire United States. It is by far one of the most significant collections of tombs in the country historically. Okay, so I will leave you this for you here, but so I just want to show you that there's a major connection right around here with lots and lots of tunnels right near an Alice in Wonderland statue, right near all this funky stuff that happens to be right near Epstein's house. Now, I could go off for a long time about tunnels underneath New York, but I think I've kind of made my point. I want to get back to the Frick collection. This is an article from ny.curb.com from July 29th, 2014. The controversial origins of New York City's Frick collection. The Frick collection is heralded as one of the world's best small museums, but it has recently stirred up controversy with a proposed 6-story addition that would expand the museum by over 40,000 square feet. Not only would this expansion destroy parts of an earlier 1970s renovation, including a private garden, it would also reconfigure the experience of visiting what is often referred to as a jewel box of a space. But any museum named after Henry Clay Frick is probably destined to invite controversy. Not only was Frick himself a polarizing figure, he was known as the most hated man in America. Remember that, the most hated man in America, and once targeted for assassination. But the construction of his mansion a century ago raised the hackles of New York's Fifth Avenue elite in much the same way that the Frick's current expansion plans have sent some New Yorkers into a tizzy. All right, so Frick was a big-time money maker from Pennsylvania, began amassing the fortune that would get him to New York at age 21 when he founded the Frick Coke Company, which supplied the fuel used in Pennsylvania's steel mills. 10 years later, already a millionaire, he entered into a partnership with steel baron Andrew Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie, PBS, Tom Ayers, Weather Underground, Newton Minot, lots of connections there. Carnegie, Rockefeller, vaulting him into the ranks of America's richest men. Now, this is a picture here of not the Frick building, but this is actually the Vanderbilt mansion on 640 Fifth Avenue. And this was what inspired him to build his own place, which later became the Frick Center. Around the same time, a visit to William H. Vanderbilt's art-filled mansion at 640 Fifth Avenue spurred Frick to begin collecting paintings himself. His first purchase was a Pennsylvania landscape. Okay, so he goes on to buy all this stuff, and he actually rented the Vanderbilt mansion for a while to house his own stuff. But this is why he's the most hated man in America. Before he could pursue his mansion dreams, misfortune began to hound Frick. On May 31st, 1889, the dam gave out on Lake Conemaugh, a private lake at a fishing and hunting club Frick had helped found. The dam collapse sent millions of gallons of water downriver towards Johnstown, Pennsylvania, killing 2,209 people. At the time, the worst disaster in American history. Though Frick quickly set up a relief fund for the victims' families, he couldn't fully dodge the club's or his own role in the tragedy. Soon thereafter, his young daughter Martha died, and a year later, his son Henry Jr. A national scandal followed when Carnegie steel workers in Homestead, Pennsylvania went on strike, in part due to Frick's ongoing attempts to break the Union. On July 6, 1892, a battle broke out between steel workers and the Pinkerton agents Frick had contracted to reopen the mill. In the skirmish, 9 Union members and 3 Pinkerton agents were killed. In retaliation, anarchists philanthropist Alexander Berkman burst into Frick's office 2 weeks later and shot him twice at close range. Remarkably, Frick not only survived the attack, but was back at his desk within the week. But Frick's reputation was sullied, and it was the beginning of a decade of strained relations between Frick and Carnegie that would ultimately send Frick from Pittsburgh to New York. Not, however, before Frick built his company's Pittsburgh headquarters right next to Carnegie's and taller so that his building would overshadow his rivalry. Okay, so then it goes to talk about how he rented the Vanderbilt mansion and started collecting all sorts of paintings and stuff like that before he could finally build his own. Now, there was a problem when he wanted to actually build this place, and that was the fact that there was a library there, the Lenox Library, and I wanted you to remember that name, a rare book and manuscript collection founded by philanthropist James Lenox and housed on the block of Fifth Avenue between 70th and 71st Streets in a building designed by the Dean of American Architecture, Richard Morris Hunt. And I want to point out that whole area where Epstein lives, there's still an area known as Lenox Hill. So they had to tear down this library. By the time Frick set his sights on the property, the Lenox Library was on the verge of moving out. In 1895, the brand new New York Public Library, which had been struggling to get off the ground, approached both the Lenox and Astor libraries with the idea of a merger. When the Lenox trustees agreed, the NYPL considered moving into the Lenox space, perhaps building an expansion onto what was then vacant land stretching towards Madison Avenue. Okay, so I'm going to leave the rest of the story here, but I want to pick apart a couple things. He actually offered to rebuild this Lenox Library in Central Park, which New Yorkers found kind of offensive. They kind of felt like he was passing it off and then just dumping it in the library, even though he offered to do it stone by stone. But it was incredibly offensive, and nobody wanted any buildings inside Central Park. But he ended up getting this building, which became the Frick Center. And of course, there it is right there. And it houses all kinds of crazy paintings, which, guys like Epstein are way into. Okay, so there's a lot of connections here, but just on a surface level, I find it very interesting that Epstein has this $77 million mansion sitting right across from the Frick Center. Both of them happen to be interested in art, and of course, they're in the right district. Lots of art there, but also lots of fashion there, including some really well-connected fashion designers. And of course, I pointed out Kate Spade, and we all know how that story ended. Very strange stuff in a neighborhood that we know there's lots and lots of tunnels. Both the Frick Center and this mansion owned by Epstein had some kind of notorious construction going on multiple times. Both of them are connected to the Lenox family. And of course, one actually housed a school for them, being Epstein's place, one time housing the school for the Lenox Center. So really, really interesting stuff. And I just pointed out too that before they even built the Frick Center, they were renting the Vanderbilt place on 640 Fifth Avenue. And of course, we've got lots of stories about the Vanderbilt family. Gloria Vanderbilt, who recently passed away, her son Anderson Cooper. Now, there's been some debate whether or not he actually got all that money or not. I'm not so sure. Don't really know. But whatever happened to 640 Fifth Avenue, where they were renting originally? Well, here it is right here. Let's cruise down. What became a 640 Fifth Avenue? Let's go down to street level. I'll bet you we can find out. Here we are, right down on the street. Here's 640 Fifth Avenue. Oh, wait a minute. What is that? It's a Victoria's Secret. Yes, the very same Victoria's Secret owned by Leslie Wexner, who sold it to Jeffrey Epstein, 9 East 71st Street, sitting right across the street from the Frick Center. Yes, the same frickin' one. That's all I got for you for now, Patriots. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. I greatly appreciate it. If you're new to my channel, welcome to you. Please understand that you're going to get unclicked and unnotified and unsubscribed from time to time. You don't need to let me know. Just do me a favor and re-click yourself, re-notify, or subscribe yourself. I would greatly appreciate it. All my alternate links are down below. My Gab, my BitChute, my Real.video, my DropSpace. Some of those are having a little trouble uploading from time to time. I always upload every day, and whether or not it works or not is up to the platform, but I keep persisting. I'm also over here at Twitter at IPOT1776. That's IPOT1776. My email is down below. My P.O. box is down below, and if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below too. They're all in the video description. All right, Patriots, this is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay funky.